person who talks through?
The host. I'm happy to do it. It's not going to be particularly challenging. So I guess on that note, welcome to anyone watching the YouTube video to the cert-manager bi-weekly meeting on the 14th of July 2021. There's a pretty short agenda today. There's not much stuff there. But just fly through it, I think. All the people attending are regular JetStack people, so I don't think there's any need for us to go around and introduce ourselves. So I guess we can just jump into it. Richard, I don't know if you wanted to do the demos, or maybe we'll do the discussion first, just in case Tim turns up to do the demos.
I haven't got much to discuss, but maybe I'll do the demos. I'll make it clear that this is all Tim Ramelot's work. Hopefully he'll watch this back and see that I've given him credit. Let me share my screen. I better just stop Slack before I do that.
Thinking man.
Share screen. Still takes me about 5 different clicks. Okay, can you all see my terminal?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll zoom in a bit. Yeah, so Tim, Intion on GitHub, has been working as a Google Summer of Code student on improving the experience for people installing and upgrading cert-manager. And he's done a ton of different things so far, but 2 things I can demo on his behalf. First of all, we have merged an experimental, at the moment we're labeling it experimental installer. So I'll just show you, I've got a cluster, a kind cluster without cert-manager running in it. I can type. I've got something, some other things I'm working on in there as well. Never mind. Yeah, so Tim has added a new subcommand to the kubectl cert-manager tool, and it's under the experimental section, and it's called install, and it has these flags available to it. And without any flags, it will install for you the latest stable version of cert-manager as published on the Helm charts repository. Because it's using Helm under the hood, that was a discussion we had last week about whether that was a good idea. Well, we decided to merge it as it is, using Helm, and so that we can start using it and getting some feedback on it. So because it's using Helm under the hood, it allows you to override certain of the configurable installation settings that are available in the Helm values file, and you can supply your custom values to this command, but I won't in this demonstration. You can also supply a version, and you can also supply like a regular expression, or no, a semver version expression. So you can say install the latest 1.4 release, whichever patch release is currently published to charts.jetstack. So there's some quite nice features there. So I'll install it, and I'll show you how it looks. Now, this is equivalent to Helm install -- wait. So it actually doesn't return until all the deployments in the Helm chart are ready. And so, and at the end, it prints out the Helm notes content, which gives you some useful information about where to go next. So that's the simplest case. And the rationale, part of the rationale for this command is that it will hopefully encourage more users to use the kubectl cert-manager plugin. We imagine that the documentation on cert-manager.io might eventually take people to this installation method by default. So our users will be encouraged to install the plugin and use that to install cert-manager. And with the plugin therefore installed, they'll have access to all the other useful features of the plugin, like the ability to diagnose malfunctioning Acme challenges and the things that are in the plugin right now, but also it will install the plugin so that they have access to the future features of this command. Like, we're imagining a kubectl cert-manager cluster info subcommand, which will allow you to dump varying degrees of diagnostic information about the cert-manager components, and hopefully give you some human-readable output, which will allow you to figure out why cert-manager isn't functioning if it's gone wrong. Tim's also got, this started off as quite a large PR, which also included an uninstall command. Tim's going to split that out into a separate piece of work, which will be more easy to review. And also, he's already done a prototype upgrade command. And the idea is that this command line, this kubectl cert-manager upgrade, or whatever we choose to call it, will try and encode all of the processes that we encourage people to follow when they're upgrading cert-manager. The processes which we've described in documentation, we hopefully will be able to automate in this script. And hopefully it'll be able to, and it will be able to do pre-flight checks to check that there's nothing particularly badly configured in the cluster, or any obvious reason that the upgrade is likely to fail. Is this Tim? Is someone just trying to join? Ah, yes, it is.
There he is. Welcome, Tim.
Hi.
Hi, hello.
I was just demoing your work, Tim.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Not taking credit. So I'm showing my screen, and I've shown everyone the install command so far. What I was just explaining is the other work which hasn't yet been merged, the upgrade and the uninstall features.
Well, upgrades I didn't create yet, so uninstall is something indeed that I created, but it's not yet merged. But now I'm more focusing on the Helm part, and also on adding tests. But in order to add tests, some changes to the Helm could be very beneficial, and that's why maybe I'm now more focusing on Helm. So
yeah. I was nervous about trying to explain the what you've done. You've taken some precautions, haven't you, in this installer to make sure that the CRDs are installed separately. So
yes.
Tell us about that, Tim.
So in case, so first of all, in case it detects that CRDs are already installed, it just fails. So exits, tells you, okay, I detected CRDs, I will not continue with the install. So that's in case CRDs are installed. If no CRDs are found, then it will install CRDs separately. So it will run the Helm charts and extract the CRDs and then install them separately. And this also allows us to use this command for, so it's better than doing the static manifest, because I saw in some of the issues they said, okay, if I do the static manifest, then it doesn't find the conversion webhook, I think, yeah, because the conversion webhook was deployed in another namespace. So, because of course, if you deploy it as a static manifest, you cannot change that. But what I do not deploy the static manifest. I template the Helm chart, and then from that I extract the CRDs, install them separately, and then install all the other components as part of a Helm install.
So the upshot of that is that, for better or worse, we should be able to see, if we do Helm list, -n cert-manager, as far as Helm is concerned, this is a Helm installation, even though we've installed it with Tim's command line tool.
Indeed.
But we can uninstall, right, using Helm. But it hasn't.
Yeah. So now the CRDs are still in place. And so this means that all the resources are also still in place. So the certificates and the issuers and so on. But now, of course, you also use the helm uninstall command. So that's because we don't have this uninstall command in the CTL plugin yet. And so now we have these CRDs, and we will not be able to run install again. We first have to remove the CRDs. But this all should be part of the uninstall command. So they should be able to uninstall CRDs and to uninstall the deployment. So now it's errors, and it says, okay, found the existing CRDs, cannot continue with the installation. And ideally, here we could do some extra things too, right? We could say, okay, just continue, try to install it, and then maybe it will try to upgrade the CRDs and also do an install. So there are multiple options here, but it's difficult to do something that will not cause any problems for everyone.
Yeah, so it's a sort of, this is an early version of the installer, but these are the sort of things we've been thinking about.
And you can also do a dry run, and then it will print the manifests. Yeah. And this is also very, or it's a little bit easier than doing it via Helm, because with Helm you have to add this repository, or you can also do it in one command, but that will be a very long command. So maybe this is a bit less.
Yeah. Sorry, my console's gone. So it'd be Helm install. And cert. Something like that, wouldn't it? And set install. So that's the sort of complication that we've tried to improve upon.
Mm-hmm. But the dry run, I think we also.
Go on, Tim. Sorry.
We will also have to iterate on the dry run parts. because there you might want to only do CRDs, only do all the components. Currently, I don't think it's an option.
Yeah, I think it would be nice. I'm not convinced about dry run. I think it would be nice if you could say kubectl cert-manager install API, and it would install the CRDs and the webhooks and webhook configurations and the services and the RBAC related to those things. I think it then would be nice if you could do control plane, install the rest of the cert-manager installation, and that might, in that two-step process, it would be I think it would be a possibility then to have a single installation of the cert-manager CRDs and API components, and have multiple namespaced installations of the cert-manager controller manager, which I think is a useful thing. I can't remember the use case, but there are people who would like that, I think. Linkerd describe it as a multi-stage install. They don't give that the use. They don't give the reasons I've just given, but they explain that there are two types of cluster administrator with different levels of access, and so that's why they offer this multi-stage install. Sorry.
I think I might have misunderstood you. You didn't mean that there will be multiple cert-manager installations, did you, in the cluster?
I did. I think that might be a useful thing, like namespace constrained cert-manager controllers.
So you would disable the cluster?
Yeah, the cluster issuer wouldn't work that way, but.
Would you have like different webhook for each, or?
No. What I mean is that you would have a single installation of the API, and that includes the CRDs and the webhooks. But there might be multiple installations of the cert-manager controller manager in individual namespaces. That's I'll take the silence to mean that that's a controversial statement.
No, I was just curious, what was the use case for that? Are there any specific resources that people don't want to be like be restricted to one namespace?
I mean, I think it would be, you have to give cert-manager access to all of the secrets in the cluster. By default, right? I would have thought that you might want to have install the cert-manager API, because that has to be installed globally, but then install the controller manager in a single namespace where it only has access to secrets in that namespace. That's one thing I can think of. And different teams might, although they would be relying on the same version, like a single version of the cert-manager API, which I suppose we could say is rather stable. They might, different teams might not be willing to upgrade the cert-manager controller at the same speed. So, like, there might be some new feature in cert-manager 1.6, which certain teams could install and others wouldn't. But all of those controller managers would work with a single API version, I think.
Except if there was like a new feature added, for example, to a custom resource, and like webhook would, I don't know, validating, mutating webhook would add that, then like an older controller would break because it would recognize that or something like that, I think. Or it's not the case.
Shouldn't do, right? I mean, that would be a good test of our forward and backward compatibility efforts. I might be getting ahead of myself there. But yeah, anyway, that's something. That's not what these. I'm now talking. This is stuff coming out of off the top of my head, and this isn't what Tim is suggesting. So I think it would be worth considering that.
Yeah, I think what you're suggesting is maybe a bit complex, right? A bit,
Anyway,
it will require a lot of work, I guess. So this may be scoped differently, I think. But I still think it could be interesting to install these different components separately.
I mean, so just to be clear, I think I'm not the only one that said this. Is Jake still on the line? I think I've heard Jake say that this is at least a possibility. I mean, if I do Bazel run, what is the controller? And look at the command line options. There is a way to restrict it to a particular namespace, I think.
I think it just happens automatically. It tries to list everything at the cluster scope, and if it doesn't, it assumes it's running in a namespace, as far as I remember. I don't religiously try it because I don't believe anyone actually runs it in prod in a namespace.
It might have come up during one of our triage parties. Maybe one of us came across an issue where someone was asking about this. I don't know. That looks like it's going to take ages. So
I love watching Bazel run in real time.
Yeah.
Oh yes, best time of day.
The other part of the demo is, Tim, are you happy for me to demo what you're working on now? The check API system.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sure. Okay. So Bazel, I think I've got this. Sorry. Bazel. No, I don't need to do that. I can just use the CLI I've got here. So we've got I'm in a branch at the moment where containing Tim's work on a tool called check API. Which isn't sorry. Sorry, I don't know why that's going off screen. Is it going to a standard error?
Probably.
Hmm.
Oh, no, it's not going to standard error, I think.
Okay, well, I give up. I will use Tmux to scroll that. Anyway, tell you what, it's just this. The help is indented, isn't it? That's why it looks a bit strange to me. The description. This is one of my code review comments. Anyway, the check API feature will, if I run it without any command line flags, will attempt to post a certificate to the API server in dry run mode, and it won't return until the API is usable. So what can I do? I could probably do a kubectl install, kubectl apply, like that, without all of this.
Oh, this one is really cool.
It's already timed out the first one, so
Keep it running.
Yeah.
So we're going to improve the output of this. It's going to be nice and human readable, but behind the scenes, this is periodically trying to post a certificate in dry run mode. And it's a V1 Alpha 2 certificate so that it triggers the conversion webhook. And once the dry run succeeds, the command returns. So
maybe you can increase the timeout because it's.
Well, it's just worked. It's just succeeded. So.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, you can say wait and timeout equals 5 minutes. So that'll be useful in CI for us. We're always having to write shell scripts and bash while loops to do this little trick. And this will, again, it'll encourage us all to make use of the cert-manager command line tool. And Tim, you're here, so tell us what's next. You've done this as the first part of a grander plan, right?
Yeah, so this command line tool should be usable as is. So you download this, you run it, and it works. But then the idea is to also add a job to the cert-manager deployment, or like the whole thing. Also to the Helm install, and then this job would also run this in the background, and that way you can know, or you can wait for the install to be fully finished. So once the job completes, then you know, okay, we can
It's safe to
query
host
against
resources.
the API. Yeah. But well, haven't tried to run it in a job yet, so that's next step. First get this working, and then try to add it in a job. And that should also improve the experience of Helm users and of other users who maybe do not want to download the command line plugin.
Yeah.
But that could be a good alternative, I think, downloading the plugin if it's user friendly. Okay.
And that's about it. That's the demo. That's all I was going to demonstrate. Are there any questions or remarks?
Not on
Looks great
the.
so far.
Jake, you go first, then Hervé next.
That's right. I was just saying it looks great so far.
Cool. And Hervé, what was your remark?
Looks great to me as well. It was about the install actually. Like, so what would it be just like in CI? Would it be just like running upgrade or install, or if they're supposed to be separate commands?
Oh, so you're making the point that it could be a single command which upgrades if there is already an installation.
Yeah, like, so
Like
are we aiming
in-
for that, or would we just recommend that people run upgrade or install?
It would be useful in here, right? If we could effectively do what we do here. Yeah, I agree, Hervé. I think it'd be nice to be able to replace that Helm command with one of our command line tool subcommands.
But I think there is also a challenge with that because, like a normal user who uses the command line plugin might maybe try to upgrade and do certain things that aren't well, that maybe breaks their current deployment of cert-manager. For example, if there is like a breaking change and they just run the upgrade command, then it could break their install, right? And so we probably want to prevent that or do some kind of maybe print change log. That's something I also thought about. Maybe we should structure the changes in each release and then print out what changes there were in this current release when you upgrade. So it detects the current version, detects the next version, and it can show you the changes.
That'd be really nice, actually. I think
That'd be cool. Yeah.
it's like
But,
how.
yeah. But
Sorry.
then you also have to. So then it becomes more complex, right? Because you also have to detect what's the current version, and that's a hard thing to do because, I think the best way to do it currently is to extract the tags from the images that are used. But maybe they are using custom images, or maybe they are using another namespace for cert-managers, so then it's difficult to find out where the cert-manager deployment is. So that all makes it difficult to find out what version is running, what the cert-manager version is running. So, and maybe for scripting, it's less important to have these tools added to the upgrade command. So I think there you have these differences. And initially, I also wanted to use this kubectl plugin to indeed in this end-to-end test to replace the Helm upgrade. But it's not possible because it's not the same behavior, right? It doesn't upgrade it, so it's just installed.
There is like a deployment tool, like there is Carvel's cap deployment tool, which manages resources that it deploys, and it adds like a custom annotation, which includes the version. I mean, I think if we install the resources, we can also add custom annotations that would perhaps show what version it is. And that way you could discover what it is. But I really like the idea about changes. It could be like,
Yeah,
actually,
I already did that. So from now on, all the resources should include this version of cert-manager. So that's something I added in the labels PR, where I removed the Helm-related labels and I changed them with some other labels. One of those labels is version. And in the previous release, so 1.4, there is already this Helm charts. Yeah, you see it here. So the Helm charts annotation. So you can use that to extract a version. But I think in previous releases it was not yet there. So so now this Helm chart is also replaced with the app.kubernetes.io/version. So it's again different. So it's not easy to do this correctly because previous versions do not have these annotations. But I agree in next versions, and I already did it, we should include a version just for every resource. And then I think we can more easily determine what version is installed.
So where's there is a load of metadata, isn't there? Helm puts a load of metadata puts it somewhere, doesn't it? I haven't used, sorry, I've installed using static manifests, so in this case it's not there. Yeah, and so that all sounds good. Thanks for all your efforts, Tim. It's going really well.
Yeah, maybe
everyone should keep an eye on the progress.
Yes, maybe a small remark on what I'm doing now, because I'm also putting a lot of effort in that, is reworking the Helm resources, basically. Yeah. So in the repository, there's a lot of Helm logic. It's quite complicated, and I wanted to simplify that. I also wanted to generate the readmes automatically. I think that's something that's almost ready to, it's ready to get a review, I think. Yeah. It's almost ready to get merged. And then I also would like to do some other, to make some other changes that, one of the things that I would like to do is make it so that the Helm chart can be installed just directly. So you do not need Bazel to install the Helm charts. I think that could be useful. So with this generation, we already have done a part of that. So it generates the README and the charts.yaml files in the repo. So it will also, you will also push these files to Git if you make changes. So they are in the repo. So now you can actually already use this local Helm charts, but the CRDs will not be included because the CRDs are in a different folder. So I thought maybe it's a good idea to just include the CRDs in the templates folder so that it's exactly the same as so that the basal commands aren't doing much on top of the current Helm chart. So the Helm chart that's in the repository is the same as Bazel uses. That's a bit what I was aiming for. And then you can just do a local Helm install. So you can do Helm install cert-manager and then point it to the local directory. Yeah.
To fix that, it says prerequisites Kubernetes
Oh.
1.11 plus.
Yeah.
But that's another thing we need to fix that. But Tim's found you can actually encode into the Helm chart the minimum supported Kubernetes version. And then Helm will refuse to install on anything that doesn't meet that requirement. And I think it's another item on the to-do list, isn't it, Tim?
Yeah, and also the previous Helm charts, I'm not sure how to do that, but the previous Helm charts should be indicated as deprecated. So I guess we will have to re-release them. So
Yeah, that's
not sure how
that's
to
a
do
whole
it.
different story. Yeah.
But then in the charts.yaml file, an extra field indicating that the chart is deprecated should be added. So I'm not sure why these charts are uploaded or how that works, how these charts are published.
That they're in a separate private repository, which we're planning to move into a separate public repository soon. But,
and there's a collection of all these charts then.
Yeah. Okay, shall I stop sharing? Is there anything else anyone would like to see or any comments people would like to make?
I kind of wish I'd had something to say throughout the whole thing, but it just kind of looks cool. Looks like a good improvement. Looking forward to using it. I guess we can move on to the only other thing that we really... I see Miles added a demo of... I assume it was you, Miles, that added that, the demo of the gateway shim.
Yes.
So there's that, and there's the CSR versus CR discussion. I suspect we're probably not going to have time to do both of them. We don't need to do the CSR-CR discussion now. It's going to come up, but it's not urgent, so we could just defer that and do the demo.
I think someone else said it. Urbe, you said it would be better when Josh is back.
Aye. And maybe others like James Monolly would have good input as well. So in that case, I'll move that to the agenda for the next session. And Mile, would you like to do the gateway shim?
Okay, so I figured maybe I should demo something since I've been working on this. I mean, Jake and I have been working on this for a while. And although it's not going to be like awesome, it is just going to be a way for letting people know what's going on this. If I may, I'll share my screen. And maybe it works. And maybe you can see my screen?
Yeah.
Is it too small? If I make it big like this?
That's good for me.
Okay. The first thing I want to show is this page that I dumped all the information that we have right now on this Shim thing. So some background on the Gateway API Shim support. So the Gateway API support for cert-manager is made of two parts. The first part is the Shim, and the second part is the solver, the HTTP01 solver. The HTTP solver is still being worked on, but we pretty much are done with the Shim. And this page is about the Shim. So the Shim is a way, as with ingresses for cert-manager, you can put an annotation at the top, another annotation on your ingress to tell cert-manager that it should create a certificate that we call a Shim. And yeah, it looks like this. And with this, this certificate will be created using the secret name on your TLS configuration in the ingress. So it's really similar for the gateway. Yeah, the first thing that Airbase said is that this diagram is nice for explaining where the TLS configuration is for the gateway API, because unlike the ingress API, which is really simple, the gateway API has a couple of objects around. And so it has a gateway, which is usually created once per proxy. So for example, you have Istio, and Istio is going to listen on two ports, like port 80 and port 443. And this is going to be the gateway. And then the HTTP routes would be the rules in your ingress. They would be the L7 part of the the ingress. So cert-manager would only deal with the gateway here, at least at the Shim level, and the TLS certificate would only be set on the gateway. That's the plan. As we said with Jake and Airbay, right now most implementations only do termination at the gateway level, which is what most proxies do anyways, or gateways, or whatever the name. And there also is a field called TLS on the HTTP routes, but there is no use for it right now. It would be used if we could forward. So the TLS connection would be forwarded to the actual, like the service itself, to the application through the HTTP routes, and then the application would terminate the TLS connection. But that's, yeah, it's not supported. There are a couple of discussions happening, like this one. People are not sure what is the relation between the TLS configuration here and the host names that are in here and the host names that are on the HTTP routes. Yeah, it's something like this. I'm not sure, but you can take a look at these issues. So this URL is available on the PR 640 on the website. So maybe I can send this to the chat in case someone wants to take a look. Yeah, anyway, so we have this, and currently, if you want to use this feature, you will have to add this flag, which turns on what we call the gateway Shim controller. It is not running by default. And if you do enable it, cert-manager will look at these gateway objects So what a person who wants to use this will have to install the Gateway API, which is it's a customized thing. It's not a Helm chart. So you use customize. You can find it. Customize. Yeah, it looks like this. So that's what people would do to install their Gateway API CRDs. The CRD version currently is V1 Alpha 1, although the for some reason the CRDs are like there is a spec for the Gateway API, and the spec is currently 0.3. So they would do this, and then they would change their cert-manager configuration to make sure the Gateway Shim is enabled. So you add this to your arguments here. You can see that it is already enabled in my deployments. And finally, so yes.
It seems to me that the Gateway Shim would live quite nicely as a separate Docker image in a separate pod. Did you ever consider that? Having it as a totally separate component.
I personally think all the parts of cert-manager, apart from the self-signed and CA should be separate pods. But that's a very different discussion.
Yeah, and what about Istio when they decided to only have one binary instead of many? Like, is it not a burden to have to scatter things around?
Oh, but I mean, you could still run the Istio even if it's a single binary, that could be run as multiple Docker containers, couldn't it? Each running the binary in a separate way, and then the individual pods you could really pin down their permissions so that the Gateway Shim would only have permission to. What am I trying to say? Gateway Shim would need permission to read and watch gateways, but cert-manager, controller manager wouldn't, for example. And it would make it easier to deploy the components because you could use Helm more easily to choose it. No, just a thought anyway.
So the downside is all of our controllers currently share the same caches and informers, so it would increase the memory a lot to do that. And the upside is that it becomes so much more flexible, and we could update various controllers without having to do a whole release of cert-manager. And we could easily drop in, like, even if it was refactored so that you could import packages to enable controllers, that would still mean that you could generate a custom small binary, and that would be cool. Like, I think a big re-architecting of cert-manager is probably not to be done in the near future.
Again, on the operation,
it could be done in parts.
side,
right? This could have been one part. This could have been, and it could still be done because the code. We don't throw the code away, but the splitting up of cert-manager into these individually deployable components could be achieved one step at a time. And this could be one step.
But do we actually want to make it even harder to operate this, like cert-manager? It sounds like something like it sounds like something even harder to operate, to install, to observe.
It's true. It's true.
It would have to come with some kind of installer or build service. I've always pointed to like the Caddy example in the past, where you build their website download page is you pick which plugins you want installed, and it gives you a custom binary. I mean, James Munley also brought this up like a few months ago when he said that his employer does not use the Acme issuer, and it would be really nice to remove all of that. And it's like from the cert-manager binary, and it's the same because the Route 53 stuff is in the binary. Why is it in the binary? why aren't all issuers external?
Yeah. Oh, so Caddy is doing like a matrix of possibilities, and they build all the binaries for every possible.
No, they build it on the fly depending on what you choose, because you can. A plugin is just a Git repository, so you can say import this Git repository into the binary.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Extra features. Oh, interesting. How does it work? I have no idea how this works. Yeah, it's building now. Okay, so the first one was easy because it probably had already the binary in cache, but this one with these 3 plugins, yeah, it's a bigger one. But that's interesting. That's really interesting, actually. Oh, thanks for bringing that up. So anyways, maybe I could show really quickly what we can expect from this gateway shim thing. So if you want, you can create a gateway. For example, this gateway called example has 2 listeners. So the listeners are the L for, like, it's your service, if you like. It's what the proxy is going to listen to. And yeah. And one thing that people have to do is to use the mode terminate. As we said, we only support this mode currently. And then instead of secret name on the ingress, we would look at the secret name for creating a corresponding certificate. But for the gateway, we look at this certificate ref, and we only support the secret kind. And
what other kinds are there?
Oh, none. At least not supported. None. The core one is the only supported one. I'm guessing they have something in mind, but nah.
Well, it can't be a cert-manager certificate reference, can it? Could you put certificate and cert-manager.io as the group?
Yeah, you probably would have to have like your Istio or traffic to support it in this case. If they support it, then we could do that. Yes. But I'm not sure they would support it. Like, just supporting the gateway API would be a nice thing. But yeah, you're right. It is extensible, as you can see. And unlike the ingress, where you only can use 1 secret name per TLS block, you can reuse the same secret. And unlike ingresses, you can only set 1 host name per TLS block. So for example, for 443, you can only have 1 host name called example.com. Although I think you can have multiple host name for the same port. I'm not sure because I never used it, so I need to use it. And for example, if you create this, it was already present, so I'll remove it. So if you create it, then you can look at this the only certificate that has been created, and you can see that the two host names that were on the listeners are in the DNS names. Yeah, that's pretty much everything that Gateway API Shim thing does.
Nice.
Yeah, neat. It's interesting to see the development of this. I make heavy use of Nginx reverse proxy at home to do all this stuff, and seeing it translated into into a universally available Kubernetes version is cool.
This solves a lot of issues that we also get in cert-manager Slack, where people are trying crazy cross namespace stuff with ingress, and cert-managers never supported it because cross namespace is just a bad idea in general. Whereas this separates the concerns where the cluster operator creates the gateway and the class, and then each individual person can just create routes.
Yeah. There's no way to model the problem without having the ingress TLS termination be separate in some way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's super neat. Does anyone have anything else to say on that, or shall we close it?
I think I think supporting this might actually boost the adoption of the gateway API stuff, because users who are using Istio, for example, or who are using Linkerd, this will now be their way of configuring that in combination with cert-manager, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Linkerd is not supported yet.
Okay.
But and it's not even listed in the implementations, but I guess they have that in mind.
Yeah, I think it will be a very nice feature, and it probably will will be a good promotion for the gateway API.
Oh, thanks, Jake. Jake listed gave a link to the various implementations.
Most of the stuff is, apart from Linkerd.
Wait, Nginx is not here actually. That's fun. That's funny. Why is it not here?
I guess it's not on
so
service
Nginx,
mesh, right?
but you don't need to be a service mesh. You just need to be something that does the gateway. I don't know how to, like, anything that does TLS termination, if you like.
And you can proxy it onto a backend. Nginx should be able to do this, no problem.
Yeah, it's that. But Nginx is definitely something that could support gateway API.
Maybe just no one's done the work.
yeah, and also there is, if I understand correctly, there has been some problems with the maintainership of the Ingress Nginx project, but it is being revived. I think I can see on SIG network. I can see people doing like weekly meetings. Oh. Okay. Yeah, there is one issue on MetaLobby. And Ashley, you would be probably interested to look at this thread that I will give to you now. The 577. It's related to the question of how. It's related to TLS. So if you want to take a look.
I saw that. I saw they tagged March, James Munnelly, and Josh by name.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's quite an old conversation now.
I might take a look.
Yeah, but not today, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Does anyone have anything else to say on this? As happened last time, we didn't have much to talk about, but we've still made the session, filled the session out, so that's good. So I guess I'll finish now. Thank you for anyone that's tuning in later on YouTube. Hope you have a nice day on YouTube, and I'm going to stop the recording
Thumbs up
now.
and subscribe.